everyone, welcome to Emma, a true infidelity story. I'm excited to share a new story with you. It was one of those evenings that felt like any other, with the comforting predictability of a routine that both Lucas and I had grown to cherish. I was curled up on the sofa, a book in hand, the soft hum of the television playing in the background as Lucas, my loyal German shepherd, lay sprawled across the cool tile of the kitchen floor. His presence was a gentle, steady pulse in my daily life, grounding and familiar. As I turned another page lost in the world of fiction, a sudden movement caught my eye. Lucas stood up, his ears perked, and his body tense with an alertness that was unusual for this late hour. I watched, puzzled, as he trotted over to where his leash hung by the door with a gentle tug. He pulled it down, bringing it to me, his eyes holding mine with an intensity that seemed to pierce the calm of our quiet night. "Why tonight, Lucas?" I murmured, more to myself than to him, as I set my book aside. His behavior was peculiar, and a thread of worry started to weave through my thoughts. Lucas had never before insisted on a walk at this hour, and his sudden restlessness was disconcerting. I reached out and took the leash from his mouth, his tail wagging slowly, a measured movement that seemed out of SYN with the usual exuberance he showed for our walks. There was something different about this night, something urgent in his demeanor that I couldn't quite understand. As I clipped the leash onto his collar, his eagerness to lead me out into the night was palpable, and with a resigned sigh, I slipped into my shoes and opened the door. The cool night air brushed against my face as we stepped outside the quiet of the neighborhood, wrapping around us like a thick blanket. The street lights cast long shadows on the pavement, and I shivered slightly, pulling my Lucasette tighter around me. Lucas led the way with purpose, his pace steady and sure as if he were on a mission. I followed, my curiosity growing with each step, wondering what had stirred my usually placid, cute dog into such determined action. As we walked, the familiar streets seemed different, more alive and mysterious. Under the cloak of night, I found myself reflecting on the day we first met Lucas, a tiny bundle of fur with eyes too big for his face at the local shelter. He had come into my life at a time when the loneliness was too much to bear, filling the quiet rooms and empty spaces with his boundless energy and affection. Over the years, he had become more than just a pet. He was my companion, my confidant, and in many ways my savior. The memory brought a smile to my face, a stark contrast to the uneasy tension of the moment. Why had he woken us from our restful evening with such a sense of urgency? What was it that Lucas needed to show me, or needed to find at this hour? These questions spun in my mind as we continued the rhythm of our footsteps. A steady beat in the quiet night dies. We ventured further. Lucas's pace never wavered, pulling us into less familiar parts of our neighborhood, areas we rarely visited during our usual walks. The streetlights here flickered, casting an eerie glow that made the shadows dance around us. Every rustle of the leaves, every whisper of the wind seemed to carry a weight, a whisper of stories untold. My heart thudded a bit louder in my ***T, my grip on Lucas's leash tightening with a mix of apprehension and the thrill of the unknown. What was out here that Lucas felt so compelled to seek? The answer came unexpectedly. We turned a corner, and there, in the soft halo of a streetlight, stood an old woman I recognized from around the neighborhood. She was frail, her shoulders hunched against the chill of the night, and she seemed to be struggling with a heavy grocery bag. "Mrs. Henry," I called out, my voice slicing through the quiet. Lucas barked softly, wagging his tail as if proud to have led me here. She looked up, a mix of surprise and relief crossing her features. "Oh dear. I didn't expect to see anyone at this hour, especially not with such a wonderful companion." Her eyes twinkle a bit as she looked at Lucas, who sat obediently by my side. His mission seemingly accomplished, I approached her, offering to help with her bag. "What are you doing out so late?" "Mrs. Henry, it's really cold, and surely it's not safe for you to be out alone." My concern was genuine. The neighborhood was safe, but the night could bring its own dangers, especially for someone as elderly as Mrs. Henry. She sighed, accepting my help with a grateful smile. "I had a late call from my granddaughter. She's not feeling well, my poor child, and there was no one else to help. I thought I could manage." As we walked her back to her home, her arm looped through mine for support. She shared more about her granddaughter's challenges as a single mother, her voice a soft, wavering melody that spoke of resilience and love. By the time we reached her quaint little house, tucked away beneath the shadow of an old oak tree, I felt a warmth spreading through me, a glow that wasn't just from the exercise of our walk. Lucas had sensed Mrs. Henry's need, his instincts guiding us through the night to help someone who was alone and struggling. It was a simple act, helping her with her groceries. But to Mrs. Henry, and certainly to me, it meant so much more. We said our goodbyes at her doorstep, Mrs. Henry's thanks ringing in my ears as she closed the door behind her. As Lucas and I retraced our steps under the starlight sky, I couldn't help but reflect on the unexpected turn our night had taken. It wasn't just about a cute dog needing to go out. It was about a friend, my best friend, sensing a need and responding to it. Lucas's actions tonight reminded me of the unspoken bond between us. A connection that went beyond simple companionship to something deeper, something almost spiritual. How many times had he been there for me in moments of need, his presence a comforting assurance without words. The night air felt crisper as we walked back, the earlier tension replaced with a serene calm. I looked down at Lucas's golden fur, a soft contrast to the dark pavement, and felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Good boy Lucas, what would I do without you? I whispered, and he looked up at me, his tail wagging in the quiet rhythm of our shared understanding. As we neared our home, the familiar outlines of our life together seemed to embrace us, welcoming us back from an adventure that had changed the night from ordinary to extraordinary. The sense of accomplishment lingered as Lucas and I approached our doorstep. The light inside our living room spilled out onto the porch, casting a warm glow that felt inviting after our unexpected nighttime journey. As I unlocked the door and we stepped inside, the familiarity of our own space wrapped around us like a comforting blanket. I unclipped Lucas's leash, and he padded off towards his water bowl, likely as content as I was to be home. But even as I settled back into the curve of the couch, a thoughtful quietude settled over me. Tonight had shown me a side of Lucas I hadn't fully appreciated before. His intuitive sense, his connection not just to me, but to the world around him. It was almost as if he understood things beyond my grasp, responding to unspoken needs with a clarity and purpose that astounded me. I found myself pondering the depth of our bond, the ways in which our pets often understand us better than we understand ourselves. My thoughts drifted back to Mrs. Henry, to her smile of relief and gratitude. It wasn't just about being in the right place at the right time. It was about the empathy and action that Lucas had demonstrated. How many times had I walked these streets oblivious to the hidden struggles of the people around me? How often had I missed the chance to extend a helping hand because I was too caught up in my own world? Lucas, with his simple, unerring judgment, had reminded me of the power of small acts of kindness. He had turned an ordinary night into a lesson in compassion and vigilance. The quiet of the house seemed to echo with the weight of these realizations. I glanced over at Lucas, now resting comfortably on his bed, his ***T rising and falling in the steady rhythm of sleep. There was a noble peace about him that made me smile. You're not just a good boy, Lucas. You're a great one. I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. The bond we shared was more than just owner and pet. It was a partnership, a mutual understanding that transcended spoken language. As I turned off the lights and headed to bed, the events of the night replayed in my mind. I realized that this experience would stay with me, a vivid reminder of the unexpected ways our lives can be touched by the creatures we love tomorrow. I would likely share this story with friends or family, recounting how a simple nighttime walk had unfolded into a series of meaningful moments that highlighted the beauty of connection and empathy. Lying in bed, I listened to the soft, comforting sounds of the house, the distant hum of the refrigerator, the occasional shift of Lucas's position in his sleep. These were the sounds of home, of a life shared with a being whose presence was as grounding as it was enlightening tonight. Lucas had not just brought me his leash, he had led me on a journey of discovery, one that taught me about the beauty of the unsaid, the strength of silent understanding, and the profound impact of paying attention to the needs of others, even when they are not voiced. As sleep finally began to claim me, I felt a deep, resonant gratitude. To have a companion like Lucas was a gift, one that taught me not just about the responsibilities of care, but also about the immense joys and lessons that come from truly connecting with another soul, no matter what tomorrow would bring. I knew that with Lucas by my side, life would always be an adventure worth taking. The next morning dawned bright and clear, a sharp contrast to the mysterious shadows of the previous night. As sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the quiet comfort of our living room, Lucas stirred from his spot by the bed, stretching languidly before ambling over to where I sat enjoying my morning coffee. His gentle nudge against my knee was a familiar gesture, one that spoke volumes about our daily routine and the unspoken conversations between us. With a soft chuckle, I set my cup down and ruffled his golden fur ready for another day. "Buddy?" I asked, receiving a happy bark in response. Today felt different, imbued with a renewed sense of purpose and connection. After our nighttime adventure, there was a tangible warmth in the air, a sense that something profound had shifted between Lucas and me, deepening our bond beyond the simple routines of daily care and companionship. As we set out for our morning walk, the streets of our neighborhood seemed to greet us with a fresh vibrancy. The faces of neighbors I had seen countless times suddenly seemed more open, their smiles more inviting. Perhaps it was my new awareness, kindled by Lucas's actions, that painted the mundane scenes of our route with brighter colors and deeper significance. Throughout our walk, I found myself more attuned to the subtle nuances of our surroundings, the chirping of birds settling into the rhythm of the day, the rustle of leaves whispering secrets to the wind, the soft greetings exchanged by passers-by. It was as if Lucas had opened a door to a world pulsating with life, and silent stories waiting to be acknowledged and engaged. We paused at the park, a place teeming with the early stirrings of other walkers and their cute dogs. Lucas mingled with his canine friends, his demeanor playful yet composed, always aware of my presence watching him interact. I couldn't help but reflect on how our pets often serve as bridges to the wider community, sparking conversations and connections that might otherwise pass by unnoticed. It wasn't long before we bumped into Mrs. Henry again. She was out for a gentle stroll, her granddaughter's recovery having brought her a visible relief. "I can't thank you enough for last night," she said warmly as she approached us. "You and Lucas, you were angels in disguise." Her words, sincere and heartfelt, resonated deeply within me. "We were just happy to help, weren't we, Lucas?" I replied, glancing down at him. He wagged his tail, his bright eyes reflecting the simple joy of being helpful, of being connected. As we continued our walk, I pondered the unexpected roles we find ourselves playing in the lives of others. Last night's events had not only highlighted Lucas's perspective, but had also reminded me of the interwoven nature of community life, where every act of kindness, no matter how small, contributes to a larger tapestry of mutual support and understanding. Returning home, I felt a renewed appreciation for the simple moments that compose our days. Whether it was the light filtering through the leaves during our walk, the friendly nods of neighbors, or the quiet companionship of Lucas at my side, each element was a reminder of the beauty and richness of everyday life. Settling back into the rhythm of the day, I knew that our nighttime adventure would remain a cherished memory, a testament to the unexpected journeys that often carry the most profound lessons. With Lucas lying contentedly at my feet, I felt grateful for the mystery and beauty of life, for the companionship that taught me more about empathy, courage, and the simple joy of being there for someone in need, be it a friend, a neighbor, or even a stranger. On a chilly night, as the day wore on, my mind replayed the small, meaningful encounters from our morning walk, each interaction weaving a richer narrative of community and compassion. It was remarkable how a simple act of kindness could ripple through the fabric of everyday life, echoing far beyond the initial gesture. This reflection filled the remainder of the day with a gentle, contemplative energy. In the evening, as Lucas and I settled into our routine, the doorbell rang, a rare sound that pulled us both from our thoughts. At the door stood a couple of neighbors smiling broadly with a small homemade pie in hand. "We heard about what you and Lucas did for Mrs. Henry," one of them said, her voice warm with gratitude. "It's wonderful to have neighbors like you." I was taken aback, not realizing that our little adventure had become a topic of conversation within the neighborhood. Accepting the pie with a laugh, I invited them in for a cup of tea, feeling a sense of community that was all too rare in the hustle and bustle of modern life. Lucas, ever the gracious host, wagged his tail and offered his own greeting, his eyes shining with the joy of company. As we sat around the kitchen table, sharing stories and laughter, I realized how Lucas's intuition had not only helped Mrs. Henry, but had also opened the door to deeper connections within our community. It was a reminder that behind each door, each window, there were stories of people longing for connection, for a sense of belonging. Later that night, after our guest had left, I found myself writing in my journal something I hadn't done in years. I wrote about Lucas, about the unexpected journey of the previous night, and about the pie and the warmth of newly kindled friendships. It was clear that Lucas's actions had set off a chain reaction, a series of events that unfolded into something beautiful and transformative. Reflecting on these events, I couldn't help but feel a profound sense of pride in my companion. Lucas had shown me that our lives are interconnected in ways we might not always see. He had taught me that sometimes it's the unspoken needs, the silent pleas for help that call out the loudest. And responding to these calls, as Lucas had instinctively done, could weave a thread of kindness through the tapestry of a community. This realization brought a peaceful conclusion to our day. As I turned off the lights and headed to bed, Lucas followed, curling up in his usual spot at the foot of the bed. The house was quiet, the stillness a stark contrast to the lively conversations of earlier. Yet there was a comfort in this silence, a serene end to a day that had been anything but ordinary. Closing my eyes, I felt grateful for the unexpected lessons and new friendships. Lucas's simple act of bringing his leash to me in the middle of the night had turned into a profound journey of connection and community. It was a reminder of the ripple effects of kindness, and how sometimes the smallest actions can lead to the most meaningful outcomes. As sleep embraced me, I knew these lessons would linger, shaping my days and interactions, reminding me always of the power of empathy and the enduring bond between a man and his cute dog. The following morning brought a fresh perspective and a renewed appreciation for the unexpected paths life can sometimes take us down. As Lucas and I walked through the neighborhood, the responses from the community continued to reflect the impact of our actions. Neighbors waved from their porches, some stopping us to express their thanks or to share a brief moment of conversation. Each interaction was a thread adding to the fabric of our shared lives, strengthening the sense of community that had been kindled by a single act of kindness. This newfound camaraderie wasn't limited to just the adults in the area. Even the children seemed to take notice. As we passed the local park, a group of kids playing near the swings ran over to pet Lucas, their laughter filling the air with youthful exuberance. "Is this the hero cute dog we heard about?" one of the kids asked, eyes wide with admiration as they looked at Lucas. "Yes, this is Lucas," I replied, my heart swelling with pride. "He really likes to help out." Lucas basked in the attention, his tail wagging vigorously, enjoying the affection and excitement he was generating among the young crowd. It was moments like these that truly highlighted the ripple effect of a single good deed, how it could touch others in ways I hadn't fully anticipated. It made me realize how interconnected we all are, and how each of us has the power to make a difference, no matter how small it might seem. As the day progressed, I made it a point to visit Mrs. Henry again, checking in to see if she needed anything else. She greeted me with a warm smile, insisting I come in for a cup of tea. As we sat in her cozy living room, surrounded by photos of her family, she shared more about her life, her joys, and her struggles. This deeper conversation wouldn't have happened if not for Lucas's instinctual act that night. It was as if Lucas had not only sensed her immediate need, but had also opened a door to a deeper connection between us. Leaving Mrs. Henry's house, I felt enriched by the experience, more aware of the lives around me, and more committed to being an active part of my community. The simple routine of daily walks with Lucas had transformed into opportunities for genuine engagement and acts of service. That evening, as I sat down to reflect on the recent events, I decided to start a community group online aiming to foster this sense of unity and support among neighbors. The group would be a place where people could offer help, share resources, and come together for community projects. It felt like a natural extension of what Lucas and I had begun, a way to keep the momentum going and build on the foundation of Sophia connection we had established. As I typed out the description for the group, Lucas lay by my side, his presence a comforting constant. It was clear that our bond had deepened through these experiences, not just between us, but with the entire neighborhood. Our story was a testament to the power of empathy and action, and how these qualities could inspire a whole community to come together. As night fell, and the computer screen glowed softly in the dim light, I felt a profound sense of fulfillment. This journey with Lucas had started with a simple, unexpected action, and it had grown into something much larger than either of us. It was a reminder of the unexpected roles we can play in each other's lives, and how sometimes the smallest actions can lead to the most significant changes. With a contented sigh, I looked over at Lucas, his eyes slowly closing, his sleep approached, and I knew that together we had sparked a little bit of magic right here, in our corner of the dot. If this story resonated with you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us craft more engaging stories for you.